Over the weekend, the Lakers responded to Grizzlies guard Dillon Brooks chirping with dominating play on the court, blowing out the Grizz by 40 to advance to the second round. While Ja took ownership of his off-the-court antics being a distraction, Brooks was asked if he had regrets for calling out LeBron.
No, that's who I am. I don't regret it. I'm a competitor. I compete. I don't think it got LeBron geeked up. Is he back in the playoffs? It's been a little while, so I think, he was ready to play.
Stephen A., how did the Ja-led Grizzlies look now after elimination?
They look like damn jokes. They were an embarrassment. And I don't say that kindly, and I don't say that with any joy in my voice or in my heart. I don't wish that on them. I wished for an epic 7-game series, to be quite honest with you. But they didn't lose. They got their ass kicked. That's number one. Number two, let's point this out. Dillon Brooks said, I poke bears. I don't respect anybody that don't give me 40. Well, LeBron didn't give you 40. But his team gave y'all 40. As in a 40-point loss in a closeout game 6. A series in which Dillon Brooks, I want to make sure I got this right. I got this stat right here. Because I'm looking at Dillon Brooks here. In 6 games, he averaged 10 points and 3 rebounds on 23% shooting from three-point range and 31% from the field. He's lucky if he's in a Memphis Grizzlies uniform next year. So that's number 2. Number 3, the superstar that is Ja Morant, albeit hurt and what have you. You did say you good in the West. Well, evidently that wasn't true. When you were asked to admit it, you couldn't. Once it was clear you shouldn't be good in the West. And then in the midst of all of that, we're sitting there, and it's not me. I hope Ja Morant is watching. It ain't me, Ja Morant, because you lost, and I got it, and it wasn't your fault. You understand? At least not totally. Okay, you didn't have Steven Adams. You didn't have Brandon Clark. But when you down 40 and you a superstar in this league and you're seen while you're down 40 laughing on the bench, it reeks of everything that says, I got my back. You didn't think the cameras were watching? You didn't think the cameras were on you seeing that? That's the look. So if I'm the Memphis Grizzlies, they're a laughing stock right now. They're all talk and bluster and nothing else. They got embarrassed, and it is what it is. And they're going to have a long offseason because ain't nobody going to let them forget that.
Oh, absolutely. They're front runners. But I'm going to go a little deeper. When we think about the Memphis Grizzlies 2 years ago, we were actually praising the whole organization for us, how they drafted and was building from the ground up and how this young team was on the rise. So they was taking steps forward. This year, they took 10 steps backwards. Forget the postseason. Let's talk about the regular season, because I feel like we need to actually address this when it comes down to them with their culture. You're not gangsters. You're not goons. You're basketball players, right? I appreciate the competitive nature, but leave all that outside stuff to the outside world. You fight all your life to get out of certain situations to actually get to.
But he has been somebody that particularly in recent memory has been willing to carry that baton and to take on issues and to really attack them with fervor. That is not to say that Steph Curry hasn't given a voice to the voiceless in his own way and hasn't tried to as well, because he has certainly been willing to speak out on a lot of different things. But LeBron's voice has clearly been more profound in that regard. I hearken back to Patrick Beverley and what Patrick Beverley said during the bubble. And he said, let's all stop this nonsense. LeBron's going to decide what we're going to do. And LeBron playing in the bubble, we all playing in the bubble. That's what he was basically saying, okay? And everybody understood exactly where he was coming from. As LeBron went, so did the league. It wasn't just because of his greatness, his unparalleled greatness and with unquestionable greatness. It was because of the fact that he was willing to stand up and speak out. Think back to when Cleveland played Golden State the year that Golden State won, but Cleveland was up 2-1 with Matthew Dellavedova as the second best player at the time because Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love had gotten hurt. One of the most memorable scenes was when LeBron James saw the great Jim Brown, who obviously was an elite sports athlete and activist in his own right. And LeBron looked over to him and bowed and paid homage to him. We all remembered that. That was all a very touching moment. Anybody that's black that saw that, it moved us because he was paying homage to that. And what I would say to Steve Kerr is that Steve Kerr has to realize Steve Kerr personifies that himself. Steve Kerr is a 4-time champion. He's been to 6 NBA finals, okay? As far as I'm concerned, he's established himself as one of the top 5-6 coaches of all time. But you know one of the other reasons we think about Steve Kerr all the time? Because of how passionate he is on certain issues. It's gun control, it's violence in the streets, it's activism, it's racism, it's gun control, it's gun violence, it's all of these different things, calling out politicians by name, talking about the kind of stuff that they need to do. It's profound and as outspoken as Greg Popovich gets. We still look at Steve Kerr and defer to him to some degree when it comes to stuff like that. He's not just a coach. He's not just a coach. He's a conscientious observer who cares about the betterment of our society. LeBron James has personified that, and he's done it more so than any modern-day athlete. And because of that is why it's kind of overshadowed Steph, because we don't just look at our athletes and just talk about their game. We look at them and we talk about them and all that they bring, no matter where they go. And when it comes to LeBron James, it's done to no one more than that is done with him.
You know what they say is I can't disagree with you with that. Matter of fact, I feel like you're 100% right to that aspect. But when I think about just in between the lines, I think LeBron James played a small part of it. But I think it's others that play a major part into it as well. Because when we think about basketball players, right, when you think about a basketball player, just thinking out loud, you think, oh, tall, athletic, length. You know, you thinking guys that are 7 foot. Matter of fact, when you was getting drafted, guys want to draft 6'9", 6'10" guys. And I think because of the evolution of what we have witnessed, far as guys like a Jason Tatum that's 6'10" on the perimeter, that's dancing with the rock, that's able to pull back and do step backs and hezzy pull-ups. When we think about a guy like Kevin Durant that's 7 foot, arguably the greatest scorer of all time to play the game on the perimeter at 7 foot. When we think about how Joel Embiid and Jokic has basically changed the game from the center position. They're not your traditional center, what those guys are capable of doing. Hell, when we think about Giannis at 7 foot, the things that he's capable of doing, a guy that we never seen before, not your traditional power forward. And so when we see all these guys that are 6'9" and 7 foot, we get amazed, and rightfully so, because they have changed the game in their own right as well. But they are also guys that are also able to fill up the box, the box score in other categories, meaning they're able to go out there and get you 10 rebounds and 8